I didn't like makeup. I didn't like dresses and all that other stuff. I was like, I just want to play wrestling with my brother and like play video games and watch Pokemon. And it's funny because my mom always said like, you're not going to like that stuff when you're older. And I was like, really? Because I just got an Espeon tattoo right here. That's Pokemon.
No way.
Yeah. So like, I still very much still love those things. And it was just being okay with that. And then once I was able to become okay with myself, it became even more fun to become the total opposite of what I was. It's like almost like wearing someone else's skin and just living in that.
Today on Quitters, we have Thea Trinidad, also known as WWE superstar Zelina Vega.
That's right. And she is a mighty mouse. She is powerful. I have no idea how much she weighs, but it can't be a whole lot. It's all power.
It's all heart. She seems like she does everything she likes. She said that, basically. She does everything that she loves, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. And she's managed to combine them.
It feels like she's moving in stream, and like anything she wants to put her hands into, it's like right there in front of her if she wants it. You said something really interesting. You said sometimes traveling makes you feel more naturally in your space because you actually are an outsider, and celebrity also offers that thing. And that made something click about you for me a little bit.
When I'm doing like a press event, or I'm shaking hands with people, or I'm in a big room of people are watching me and I'm sort of the outsider, that feels right. That feels more natural to me. It's easier for me sometimes to do those events where I know what I'm supposed to do than it is for me to go to like a party and hang out. I don't always know what to do. I don't know what my role is. So it's easier to hide in that. And I was just wondering if she had that feeling. It seems like she's very, though, comfortable. She was an outsider as a kid. Definitely. I mean, her interests, dear God, from age 4, going to wrestling matches, loving it. I like that she is her own person. She's just her own person. She's, as she says, 4'11", but a powerful person who's pursuing what she wants to pursue. And she seems really nice.
She seems like herself. If you come as yourself, she will meet you as herself. That's the kind of person I like.
Yeah. No, straightforward, like real. Yeah. She's a very cool person. So here she is, Thea Trinidad, otherwise known as WWE superstar Zelina Vega. Welcome, Zelina. Thea Trinidad, professionally known as Zelina Vega of WWE. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It's a lot of names. Welcome to Quitters.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have a really crazy story. Every turn is pretty wild, and you're very open about it. And there are so many nutty things, starting with doing a movie with Florence Pugh, the highs, the lows of the loss in your family, the damage to your body, and aftermarket parts that has been sustained that you openly talk about. I don't even know where to start. Do you have a place you want to start, Chad?
I was just going to ask her what part of Queens she's from. I live in Queens, and my fiance's from
very
Hollis.
Real.
So I was curious. Yeah.
I'm from Queens Village, right on 217.
Okay, cool. And I asked Julie before we started what her relationship with pro wrestling was as a kid. I had my own, which was that it was The Rock basically became cool while I was in middle school. And we were like running around doing the people's eyebrow and elbow to each other. What was your relationship with pro wrestling as a kid?
So honestly, it was just such a big thing in my family. Like we all loved it. Like we would go to Madison Square Garden with the big, like, just bring it signs, like a cross, and had a bunch of crazy screaming Puerto Ricans in the crowd. But I loved Rey Mysterio because, I'm tiny, and I remember watching him thinking like, wow, like if he can do that, like why can't I? Rey has always been a huge inspiration to me. Lita, obviously, with like her athletic ability, to how beautiful she was, to her ferocity. Like she loved getting in there and mixing it up with the guys. And that's why I do the moonsault, and that's why I do the Hurricane Ranas, is in honor of her. And it's just funny to say now that like you getting to work with these guys is just mind blowing to me. So yeah, a lot of them is just going to events with my family, and now to be here is crazy.
When I think of pro wrestling, like it feels like the type of dream that if you get to it, it means you actually ran your dream all the way to the end point. Like I feel like a lot of people meant to be a rock star and they end up being sometimes a songwriter, which is great. This was your biggest dream and you actually hit it. Is that the case?
Absolutely. I've wanted to do it since I was like 4 years old. And I remember like even just telling my dad, like, yeah, I'm going to be the wrestler of the family, and he'd be like, yeah, okay, sure. Like he would support anything that I wanted to do. But I don't think anybody really thought that I was going to follow it all the way through. You say, I want to be a wrestler. I want to, whatever it is, whatever your dream is. And when you actually have a point where you sit back and take it all in and say, wow, not only did I do it, but then I became champion. And then I became like a history maker because we have our first time evers, especially as women. To say that I was the first ever queen of the ring. I mean, the first ever king of the ring is Bret Hart. So it's cool to be like, yeah, just me and Bret, no big deal. Just, so you don't realize the gravity of the situation until you just like can take that moment to sit back and go, oh my God, I actually did it.
But as a young child, I know your family was super into wrestling, but how many of your peer group, the kids you went to school with, the kids you hung out with in your neighborhood were into wrestling? How much of an outlier were you?
Maybe two of my friends are into it, but my brother was really into it. My brother was my best friend, so like he was the one who I would go and like watch the events with or play video games with, because not a lot of my friends loved playing video games or watching anime or collecting Pokemon cards or anything like that. So my brother was just really my partner in crime and all that.
And you are, as I read here on our dossier, like you are a villain. Is that right?
As of Friday, no.
Oh, as of this
wait, what?
past Friday?
Yes.
Well, hold on. Okay, before we get there, but I want to talk about being a villain, if that's okay. So for a movie to pull me in, for a TV show to pull me in, like I need a really relatable, interesting, and scary villain. It's really important for me. I think there's something more pure about villains. There's something more honest, I think, about villains most of the time than heroes. I'm like always very skeptical of the hero.
Yeah, and don't we always root for the villain? I root for the villain.
Oftentimes do, if it's a good villain, yeah. What do you tap into to be a convincing villain?
I mean, honestly, it was really easy because number one, I'm not the like super over the top bubbly kind of personality anyway. But really, it's just looking into yourself and just dialing it up to 100. For me, I was always picked on as a kid for being smaller, or for being, liking all of these things that I do now. Just taking all of those things where I had to fight for anything that I ever gotten. Whether it came to people taking me seriously. I mean, listen, I'm also from New York, so we have to be quick with the way that we talk. And I feel like that's just an extra added bonus that I had to put on top of the character. But then you look at things for me, again, I take from anime. So I look at Mamoru Uchiha, right? Ultimately, he wanted world peace, but the way he went about it wasn't the best, but he did have a point. Ultimately, even Thanos, if you look at, they do have a point. Maybe the journey there isn't the best ways, but like you can relate to them because there's always something deep rooted in them that you understand. In this crazy world, I feel especially now, it's a lot easier to understand the villains.
My introduction to wrestling was incredibly late, and it was through Glow, and which I loved. Okay. That may have been a completely false picture of wrestling, but there's a producer who's sort of assigning roles. It sounds like you created your role, your story.
I did. Yes, I created it. I mean, they give you, here's your character as far as, you know what it is and whatever, but we'll plug it into this storyline. You get to have who you are and what you've created, but they plug it into, okay, now you're going to be mixing it up with this person. And how does that person mix with that person? And what would you say to this person? There's a lot of trust, I feel, that has come with knowing your character the way you do. And, they kind of see like, hey, do they need help? Do they need us to kind of tell them who they are? Or can they handle it themselves? So one thing I actually found funny that one of the writers told me, he said, I would never know what a smaller Puerto Rican girl from Queens, New York would ever say, but you do. So here's what we want to do. What would you do in this situation?
I'm still curious about how you in the ring, you on TV, meshes with you in real life. I know Julie, so I kind of have an understanding of how that works between her as a character on TV versus her as an actual person. I know pro athletes, like in basketball, for instance, where it's a different kind of thing. What's it like for you as a wrestler? Like if you're just walking outside, taking the trash out or whatever, doing normal people shit, do you get to be your normal self or do you have to be the character?
You do definitely get to be your normal self. The second that I get off the plane, coming home, I'm me, 1000%. I come home to my husband and my 7 cats and I plug into video games. Like that's literally what we do. But I think what's cool is that when the fans want to see Zelina for who she is, they'll pay attention to that. But if they want to get to know me more on a personal level, then there are other things that WWE has put out to let the fans kind of behind the curtain a little bit and get to know us on a personal level. Like Xavier Woods has it on YouTube called Up, Up, Down, Down, where we play video games with other people, and you kind of get to see, okay, so Thea is actually a little crazy. And when it comes to her and Kobe Kingston going against each other, they get into huge fights and it's really funny, but you get to pick and choose, which I think is cool. I definitely get to have me time, but I decide when that happens.
I was looking at some clips of you. Can you share with us, with the listeners, how tiny you are? You're powerful as hell, but I saw clips of you with Florence Pugh in that movie Fighting with Your Family. She's fairly small, and I thought, wait, you were quite petite next to her.
My fans know me as being 5 foot, but I'm actually probably closer to 4'11", 4'10" on, like, if I'm flying. Listen, when I'm flying especially, I'm a lot smaller for some reason. I don't know why that is, but anytime I've measured myself off the plane, I'm always like 4'10", and I'm like, how is that possible?
Oh my God.
But I'm closer to 4'11".
Does that change your trajectory as a wrestler? I mean, it's got to be your secret weapon in a way. You're so agile and you can fly through it. When you said flying, I thought you meant literally in the ring, because you're like flipping all over the place. Like, you're very agile, like a gymnast. Do you use your height to your advantage?
So I do. Again, watching Rey Mysterio as a kid, I was like, man, like, he has this cool style of lucha libre. Like, I want to get to know that too, so I can use my size to my advantage. And that's really where that whole thing came about. And then my cousin, his name is Amazing Red, he worked on the Independents for a while. He worked in TNA, and he was really someone who just kind of, from the start, just helped me evolve as far as the wrestler. Like, hey, do you want to have a little bit more of a technical style? Do you want to have more of a high flying style? Like, how do you want to, mix and match? It's almost like when you play, 2K, for instance, you get to create your character and you get to pick their moves and pick their taunts. And it's really just doing that in real life. So for me, it was definitely making sure that I had that's my advantage, because I wasn't going to outpower anybody. I wasn't the strongest, but I knew that I can be the fastest and I can have a lot of different moves to my advantage. Plus, being a villain, I was like, I'm going to outsmart everybody. So.
And you've already referenced, I think, Thanos. I think you have Bulbasaur on your head. Is that who that is? Yeah. It feels like you push yourself into fictionalized worlds often. What about that feels right for you? Like, I don't know if it brings you joy, if it makes you feel alive. Like, what is it that you connect with in that way?
Going back to my childhood, I didn't like who I was, because I was always kind of picked on. I was, someone that they would always kind of, oh, my other friend's not busy, then I'll hang out with you, I guess. Or, you know what I mean? So I was always the one that people eventually got to, but it was never the priority. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Because once I do what I say I'm going to do, the fun part was everybody then coming to me going, oh my God, we knew you can do it. It's the best ever. And I'm like, new phone, who it is? That kind of. So, I didn't really like who I was. And it took a while for me to go, okay, what can I do to change that? And it was just saying, no, I'm not going to, go and hang out and party if I don't want to. I didn't like makeup. I didn't like dresses and all that other stuff. I was like, I just want to play wrestling with my brother and like play video games and watch Pokemon. And it's funny because my mom always said, like, you're not going to like that stuff when you're older. And I was like, really? Because I just got an Espeon tattoo right here. That's Pokemon.
No way.
Sure. Yeah. So like, I still very much still love those things. And it was just being okay with that. And then once I was able to become okay with myself, it became even more fun to become the total opposite of what I was. It's like almost like wearing someone else's skin and just living in that.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Hey, Chad.
Hey, Julie.
Guess what I am?
A person.
A mother. I'm a mother of 3, and it's Mother's Day. You have a mother.
I do. A mother of 2.
What are you going to do to celebrate her on Mother's Day?
I'm probably going to send her a gift. I think we actually will be in DC that week with Juliana's mother as well. So I'm probably going to see her.
Well, you know what I suggest?
What?
Give them the gift of rest and relaxation. Toss them some Satva luxury mattresses.
Oh, yeah, Satva luxury.
I plan to spend Mother's Day not getting out of bed.
I can't even imagine you not waking up and immediately doing stuff.
Well, I'll be really honest with you. I do get up really early and then I get back into bed. If I'm going to have a lie-in, I get back into bed because I like to get all snuggly. And I got to feed Gertie, then she got to get under the covers. Do you know Gertie really likes the Sattva mattress? And Mother's Day is just going to be me hanging out. I've got my tea. I've got my Gertie. Hopefully my kids will be around. You never know. Doesn't matter because I got my Sattva mattress. I'm good.
You deserve that. If any of our listeners want to be really good to their moms or to themselves for that matter, they'll save $200 on $1,000 or more at sattva.com/quitters. That's SAATVA.com/quitters. In honor of Earth Month, we're offering a collection of brand new, limited time only recipes made with sustainable, earth-friendly ingredients all throughout the month of April. Think premium recipes featuring sustainably sourced seafood, organic proteins, produce, and eggs, and ingredients with a low carbon footprint. I know you love that, the low carbon footprint.
I do love that Green Chef cares about the earth, and they're really showing how much they care during Earth Month with all these cool new recipes. I am, spoiler alert, not a great cook, but I can make a quesadilla, and Green Chef makes it even easier. All the ingredients come to my house. It's all organic, and it has a low carbon footprint. Bam.
And they even have options for every lifestyle. They have keto, protein-packed, vegan, vegetarian, fast and fit, Mediterranean, and gluten-free. Are you on any of those things, Julie?
I was just looking at those. I do not relish spending a lot of time in the kitchen. Every now and again on Sundays, I like to cook with the kids, and then we take a little bit more time. But ordinarily, you got to pump those meals out, and Green Chef makes it so much easier. And it makes it easy to feed my kids in a way that is healthy and does not abuse our beautiful earth. Go to greenchef.com/quitters60 and use code quitters60 to get 60% off plus free shipping.
Go to greenchef.com/quitters60 and use code quitters60 to get 60% off plus free shipping.
Can you walk me through the age at which you sort of, I apologize for shoehorning this, but you sort of had to quit the norm of what was going on in your neighborhood with the girls, with your peer group? Are you 11? Are you 5? When you start to just say, oh, I get it. To be happy, I got to quit what they think is normal and do my own thing.
I would say that happened around 18, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty late in the game.
Yeah, it took a while. And I think it was just, it almost felt like a private side of me. You know, it felt like I was just trying to fit in for a while. And then I was like, no, it was around 18. And it's funny because my mom was like, recently, she's like, you don't even talk to so-and-so anymore from school. And I'm like, yeah, I never actually really liked them. Weird.
What a freedom that is.
Yes.
Did they try and talk to you though? Did you still live in the original neighborhood where you grew up?
No, I don't.
Okay. So you don't run into these people anymore.
No. And even if I did, I think, not that I'm the kind of person to hold a grudge, but it's more like, you know, I know what this person's about. There's no reason to get mixed up with that kind of crowd anymore. I think I'm way more comfortable, way more secure in who I am now, really than I ever was. And I think back then, because I was trying really hard for them to accept me. But my God, when I finally figured out like I didn't need it, and I found this whole group of other people that were way better and way cooler, especially like the anime fans and like the gamer fans, because man, those communities are just the most fun. They're so passionate and they remind me of wrestling fans. And I think that's also why we go hand in hand.
In those communities, I always feel like I wouldn't even know how to tap in. I am on Reddit all the time. I'm on Reddit looking at mostly sports, to be honest with you, like sometimes animal videos and stuff like that. But
Yes,
I never know how to like raise my hand to say something in those communities in a way that anyone will actually hear it. How were you able to cut through in communities like that?
I think it was also finding the right people who are already connected in that space. I met somebody around 2015. His name is Mark. We call him Mark Man. He's awesome. I met him at Evo, which is like a big convention where they have just like a bunch of gaming stuff going on. I don't know if you know what Evo is, but I met him there and we had just been talking, you know, a little bit on social media, but I feel like when I met him in person, I was like, oh, he's great. Like you can sense a genuine soul, you know, when you meet one. Since then, he has been just one of my dearest friends, just saying, hey, like we should get you mixed up in this, or hey, meet this person who actually introduced me to my friend Andrew, who works for Capcom, which then spearheaded the whole Street Fighter thing. So it all kind of stemmed from meeting people who were already kind of in the space and networking and finding what you have in common with these other people. And then once people see your heart and know that you're a good person and you want to just help the community evolve and help that space evolve, they just want to be on your side and help you.
Do you feel like your core identity, I guess, is in WWE? I don't know how to position you in my brain, which is not your problem, but like I'm trying to do it. You like live in the ethereal, like you live on TV, you live online, you're right here as an actual person.
Yeah.
How do you think of like where you are or who you are?
The cool thing is that I don't necessarily fit into one category. And I think that's why people relate to me so much. Some people go like, oh, I love Zelina because she has 7 cats and I love cats and we get to talk about cats all day or whatever. And some people will say like, oh, I love her character in WWE, so I can talk to her about that. My favorite is when, because both of my legs are tattooed with all anime tattoos. One leg is solely Naruto, and then the other one is Inuyasha and Demon Slayer. So when people see me, honestly, they're like, oh, I'm sure you're into anime. Sure you are. And then when they see my legs, they're like, oh, you're really into it. Like, okay. So once the gatekeepers kind of realize, no, I'm here to stay. As far as like what category, my main identity, I want to say, technically it is WWE or just the entertainment realm, because there's so many different parts to it that I've gotten to blend. I've gotten to blend the worlds between anime and WWE. And honestly, Xavier Woods was the first person to do the gaming in WWE. But to be able to say this past Royal Rumble that I got to cosplay a Street Fighter character, her name is Jury. I got to cosplay her while also announcing that I was a commentator in the game. Nobody's ever done that before. So it's just a cool thing to say, like, that's another history-making moment. That's another thing that Zelina did. And now, because she did it, a bunch of us get to do things that we want to do, too. It kind of just, in some weird way, opens doors for other people. And I think whether I knew it at the time or not, I'm happy that I'm doing.
You like anime, and you said that growing up, you didn't like makeup and dresses and girly things, but you're a beautiful woman. You're wearing beautiful makeup. You've got the hair. You're very classically female, feminine, attractive. And in the world of wrestling and in the world also of anime, which I know only tangentially through my kids who watch it, sometimes the women are super sexualized and sometimes they're not. How did your evolution work is stepping into that as from being a teenager who wasn't into, girly things? And then how do you keep that space for yourself where you're not like, you don't tell me who I am. I'm not your little Sailor Moon.
Well, it's funny that you said that because I actually was thinking about that the other day. I was like, when did I start kind of getting into this stuff? So I love cosplay. I hated that Halloween was only once a year because I love getting dressed up so much. I was like, damn, I want to be Bubbles all the time. I want to be Harley Quinn all the time. Like, why can't I do that? But then once I realized that cosplay was a thing, it was like, okay, well, I want to look more like Daki, for instance, from Demon Slayer. If I want to look more like her, how do I do that? Okay, well, I have the outfit. I got the wig that matches her hair. I added the green at the bottom. But her makeup, she has like these little flowers here. So how do I recreate that? So I think it started with cosplaying and started with like, okay, I want to look more like this character. It kind of evolved from there. And I remember it's called Impact Wrestling now, but it was called TNA back when I started that. That was 2011 or 2010. I noticed that there was a big difference between me and the other girls that were working there. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to do my makeup. I don't know how to do my hair or anything like this. Here I am, And luckily they had, hair and makeup people there. But there was someone, she was Tara there, Victoria in WWE, but her real name is Lisa Marie. She was like Mama Bear that came over and she was like, okay, so here's a push-up bra and here's lashes and we're going to learn how to do this.
And how did that feel? How did that feel to have somebody kind of showing you how to step into this hyper female role? And it was a role. Did you embrace it because it was within the wrestling world? Or was there any part of you that was like, why do I have to do that?
Because I was the new girl. So I was happy that somebody wanted to talk to me and kind of help me. Nobody likes to be the new kid.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I was like, I feel like she's doing something really sweet and trying to help me. But now how can I make this fit me? Because I always had older friends. So I always looked at it as like a cheat sheet. And it's like, here's the things that they've done or they do. And how can I pick and choose from there? Either A, I don't make the same mistakes, or B, that I get to use it to fit me.
Oh, I'm so glad Julie asked, how does it feel? Like the feeling of being in an arena in front of dozens of thousands of screaming people doing something that looks
hard.
It looks very difficult, but it also looks like very energizing. It looks very free. What does it feel like?
Oh my God. Like when I went to wrestling events as a kid, there's no word to describe what that's like. I remember as a kid, I used to think like, man, if I just scream really hard, like Jeff Hardy will get up and then he's going to beat The Undertaker and it's going to be the best thing ever. So it's, I remember, oh my God, my brother hated when I did this, but Jeff Hardy had his entrance where he would do his little Jeff Hardy dance and he would do this thing. And we were by a guardrail and I stood. I don't know what made me do this, but I thought I couldn't fall. So I just stood on the guardrail and I'm doing the Jeff Hardy dance. And he's like, oh my God, I hope no one gets this on camera because that would be the most embarrassing thing. And all my friends are going to get so mad at me and whatever. It's electrifying as a kid and as a fan. It's one thing when you hear The Rock say the most electrifying fans in sports and entertainment. But I didn't realize until I was actually in the ring what he meant by that. And that's probably the best way to describe our fans for sure.
You feel electrified by the fans as you're doing it.
It's almost like a group charge almost. Even when you think, oh my God, I'm gassed out, I'm tired in there. Like you start to hear little chants or you start to hear yays or boos or whatever it is. You ever see that toy that it's like in a ball and it's kind of energy going everywhere, but when you touch it, it all goes to one spot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like.
Oh, wow. Dax Shepard, who does stand-up comedy sometimes, he said, after you do stand-up, you have this huge rush of connection with the audience and you just feel so alive. You walk off the stage and you realize like, I'm not going to feel that feeling again until I'm back on the stage. So you try to find ways to get yourself back up on that feeling. How do you deal with like going from that electric charge to like the rest of life, which can sometimes feel good and sometimes feel bad and all the feelings in between? Like, how do you deal?
I think a big part of that for me is just finding other things. And I'm glad that I did because it also made me feel that and also made me feel happy. I just did the Crunchyroll Anime Awards and standing up there, I was almost more nervous there than I was in the ring. It was crazy, that feeling, getting to do stuff like that and plug myself into different avenues that may not be as much, but it'll give me that boost. Honestly, just coming home and seeing my husband and my cats, like that gives me like the best feeling in the world. When I go to New York and we get to perform at MSG and I get to see my grandmother and my mom, my brothers and my stepdad, like it's cool to get it from them because I don't get to see them as much. That's the other side of being on the road. You don't get to see your family as much. There's a lot of things that you miss. You get that charge finally coming back home to them.
When you were in Japan doing Crunchyroll, you were doing the awards. Is that the first time you've been to Japan?
No, I've actually wrestled in Japan for a company called Stardom. I was there for about like 3 weeks or so, but that was one of the coolest things I've ever done. It's just like you get to wake up every day, go to training, be in Japan, which it's like the mecca of anime and gaming and everything. It was just the coolest. So like it was nice to actually go back and bring my aunt with me who'd never been to Japan.
So they know you in Japan. They know Zelina as a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Are the fans there as rabid, as electrified, or are they more polite?
They're definitely way more polite, but it's just different. You know that when you're working for the American crowds, you know that they're going to be loud and there's going to be certain things that you can do to get a reaction out of people. Like I know, okay, if I'm in the tri-state area, I already know what kind of moves and situations in the match that are going to get what we call a pop from the crowd, just like a big reaction.
Yeah.
But if we're in the South, I know I can change that up a bit and make it a little bit more comedy based because that's what's going to get the pop there.
Right.
But in Japan, they like to sit and take it all in. And then once they know a sequence is done or once they know, then they can respectfully, like they'll clap, or something. But they're very quiet. Yeah, they're very quiet usually.
That's got to feel a little funky.
It is. It definitely, like the first time it definitely did. But they warned me about it. I remember when I first got it, they warned me about it. Like it's definitely nothing like American crowds. So just be ready for that. It's just funny because when the matches are done, then you're like, okay, did they like it? Okay, they did. That's cool. So you kind of get it at the end of the match, but I know how passionate they are for the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, for instance. Like I was staying in the same hotel room as like some really big streamers and NFL players and, actors, but there was wrestling fans there. Like I would think that they'd be there for them, to get autographs and pictures from them, but they were there for me with my action figures, with my trading cards and everything. And Aiden Hutchinson. He was in the NFL, part of the Detroit Lions. And he was just like, oh, they know you here. Like, this is like, they got like a bunch of stuff. And like this guy came up to me and he had 2 pictures he wanted me to sign. And he's like, I waited 10 hours here for you to come back. And I'm like, oh my God, that's mind blowing to me that A, you would even do that. B, just for me. These other 2 guys who came, they brought me gifts because they knew I like Demon Slayer. I'm actually looking at them right now. They knew that I like Demon Slayer. So they bought me like toys. And it's just so cool. I'm like, I don't want anything. I don't need anything. Again, you talk about the difference between like American and Japanese fans. They just love that you're there in Japan for them. They always say, like, thank you so much for visiting Japan. I'm like, thanks Japan for having me. Like, you know.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Well, hello. Today's episode is brought to you by Starbucks Ready-to-Drink Coffee. Tune into moments that matter with the uplifting boost of Starbucks Mocha Frappuccino Chilled Coffee Drink. Available now, online, or wherever you buy groceries. Do you like coffee?
I do like coffee. I have some coffee right here.
I'm a little lazy. I don't like waiting in line for it. Even as easy as they make it now, you do it on the app, all that. I like it right out of my cupboard. That's why I like Starbucks Ready-to-Drink Coffee. That's right. You got to drive carpool. I mean, I wish I could stop, but then if I stop, then the kids want something. Sorry, I just want my own. So I just get Starbucks Ready-to-Drink Coffee, grab it. I'm doing carpool. I'm awake. I'm ready to face the day.
Life moves fast. Starbucks Ready-to-Drink Coffee delivers an uplifting boost that helps you tune into the moments that matter wherever you are.
Yeah, I like the range of the Starbucks Ready-to-Drink Coffee. Whether I want to grab a Starbucks Frappuccino chilled coffee drink or a Nitro Cold Brew, my favorite.
They have 4 delicious flavors of bottled Frappuccino. They have mocha, vanilla, which is my favorite, caramel, and coffee flavored Frappuccino. Starbucks coffee ready for right now. Shop the full lineup online or in store wherever you buy groceries.
I wasn't really an outsider as a kid. I looked the part and I kind of got along to get along, but I always felt like a little bit of an outsider. I always liked traveling because then it fits. You are the outsider. And it feels like, yes, that's appropriate. I don't have to pretend to blend. I don't have to be anything other than the outsider. Because do you get that freedom or do you not get that freedom in Japan because you're so well known?
In a way, like, especially bringing my aunt with me, it was cool for her to see my world a little bit because she hadn't really. She knows what I do, but she hadn't really been to the point where she saw the fans coming to me and asking for pictures and autographs. She hadn't seen any of that stuff. Or when we're just walking on the street and somebody would run up to me or something, like she hadn't experienced that until that point. But I definitely stuck out like a sore thumb. I will say that. Just like this tiny like girl with like bleach blonde. Well, it was kind of like silverish hair. I think it was like, oh my God, okay, that's somebody. Like, who is it? Somebody actually asked me if I was Doja Cat. I was like, oh no, but thanks for that. I love her, but I was like, I just embrace it really when I was there because it's almost like cool because not that I feel like they appreciate you more, but in a way, just because they don't get to see you as much.
Was that your first time being asked if you were Doja Cat? Was that the only time that's ever happened to you? Okay. It's probably going to happen again.
I know. Now that you say it, I'm like, oh no, it's Doja Cat.
I hadn't thought of it either until you said it.
Yeah,
and
you said it. I'm like, oh yeah, definitely.
I do want to ask you though about cats. I have a dog. I'm a kind of a dog person, but I'm an animal person. Like I love cats too. But what is it about cats that you connect to?
I was a dog person initially. And mind you, I was also allergic to cats. They say that your allergies change every 7 years or something. Because I was a huge dog person. I had a little Pomeranian puppy named Kovu, who was like my son. I loved him so much. But then when I met my husband, he had a cat, our white one named Toddy. I don't know. When I met him, I was like, oh no, I think I like cats now. Like, what is this black magic that's happening? I was never really into cats. And then once I met Toddy, it was just like, oh, I think I want one now. And then I got my cat, Phoebe, flat face, like tabby cat. And then he got another one, which is an orange kind of flat face cat. And then when we moved in together, we had 3. And then we got another one named Pickles. And then we got another one named Betty. And then we got Willow. And then now the Bengal, who's the psychopath of the group.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he's crazy. He knows how to open doors. If you hear that noise every now and then, it's because he's trying to open the door.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's
I have
Is it like
follow-ups,
living-
but I'm gonna reel it in.
No, I mean, I want to know if it's like living in a zoo. I have one dog. That's about all I can handle. I cannot imagine. Are these your kids? These are your kids, and you're happy with that.
I used to say that, and my husband, same way. We were very much like, no marriage, no kids. When we first met each other, like, whatever. And then he was like, I do want to marry you. And we thought we're on the same page with the kid thing. And then one day he was like, hey, so I had this dream, please don't be mad. And I was like, who's the girl? Like, who, you know what I mean? Like right away, my brain just went into super crazy Puerto Rican mode. But then he's like, no, the girl was our daughter and she looked just like you. And it was really cute. And I think I want a kid now. And I was like, oh no, okay.
And then what happened?
And then we just started talking about it more. And now we're kind of like, okay, well, I know where you're at in your career and I know where I'm at in mine. So I would say probably in the next few years, we can probably start that whole situation. So we'll see. At least now we're like open to it. Now we're like, okay, we'll definitely do this at some point. Just the when it's going to work out for us as far as timing wise.
That's a quit.
That is a quit. That's a big quit. Let me take it back so that it's not as raw for you. Having babies for women, I mean, you're putting your body on the line and your body's already on the line with what you do every day. So it's a lot to make that kind of a commitment. When you decided to get married, you were like, we're never getting married. We're never getting married. We're never getting married. So what happened right before you decided, oh, okay, I guess we're getting married? Like, how did that change?
Oh my God. And this is why I always find it so funny that my husband and I are very non-traditional people at all, because when we first got together, it was like, we're on the same page. Yeah, no marriage, no kids. This is gonna be great. Tons of cats. And then we were on the treadmill. Actually, I remember exactly. We were on the treadmill and he was just like, hey, if I asked you to marry me, would you be mad? And I was just like, no, but like, is that you asking me? And he's like, I don't know. Is it? And I'm like, if it is, can you like do it better or something? And he was just like, okay, but like, you'd say yes though, right? And I was like, I thought we said no marriage. And he's like, yeah, I changed my mind. So after that conversation, it was just like, hey, so we're doing this? Okay, cool. And then that was it.
So he led the charge on that, just like he led the charge on the kids.
Yes. Yeah.
He's been he's the driving force of change here, but you're going along with it. You don't like it.
No, it's, you know what it is? I feel like they always say like, oh, wouldn't you find the right person? But it's so true. Like anybody previously, I'd still be like, absolutely freaking not. But being with him, it felt right. And I was like, I can absolutely spend the rest of my life with you. Like, it's funny because we're so different on the outside, but we're like the same person on the inside. He's this 6'2", all tattooed white dude from Amsterdam. And I'm this like short Puerto Rican girl from Queens. And it's somehow it works. He loves anime. He loves cats and video games. And we're just the same soul on the inside. So it makes sense to me.
And you're also tattooed.
Yes. Yeah. Which also is a big thing due to him. I started off, I think, with 2 tattoos when I first met him. Now I don't even know how many I have. So as much as WWE's not going to get mad at me for getting tattooed anymore, because I want to say when I first started wrestling, it was like a big thing. Like girls can't have tattoos.
Oh, really?
At all. Oh, yeah. With WWE back then, they really didn't want to have any girls having tattoos. But now, again, just so much cool changes have happened that I'm actually getting my own like tattoo show with WWE. So it's just, I know.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So it's like, it's mind blowing to me. And it's cool that it's like, wow, it's like accepted now. And now we can actually like get tattooed. And a lot of it has to do with anime, obviously, because I have a lot of anime tattoos. But when I do bring other people onto the show, like they get to talk about what tattoos they like and interview the artist. So it's kind of like blending the worlds between tattooing, wrestling, and for me, it would be anime. But say for, I don't know, my friend Shotzi, for instance, she loves horror. So it can be that element of horror and blending those worlds together. So I feel like WWE is such a cool melting pot of different people and personalities that you kind of get to choose what you want.
Is there anything that you love or feel passionate about that you are not doing? Because it seems like you're doing everything that you love.
Yeah. Honestly, no. No. And that's cool to say for once. Like that's really cool to say.
For once? What do you mean? Did you ever not feel that way?
Yeah, that brings me back to a time where it was probably 2020. Everyone in WWE was still trying to figure out like, okay, all this stuff is new. streaming and that kind of stuff is very new to us. So I think it was more of like trying to see where it all fits and how everybody can make it work for everybody and not just one person benefiting. So I didn't really feel at that point that I was doing everything that I wanted to do. And after a lot of meetings with different people and them seeing the benefits of, wow, our fans really are into both anime and wrestling. Wow, they really are into gaming. And even just seeing how the Royal Rumble went down, they were like, oh my God, this hit bigger than we even thought it could. They've trusted me with a lot and it's paying off. Now I feel like it's like, okay, what else do you want to do, Zelina? What else crazy idea you got?
You don't have the thing that stops a lot of people from trying something they feel passionate about, which is like, what if I suck?
Fear?
Yeah, what if I'm not good at it?
She does not have any fears.
If I know I'm not good at something, the fear is there. So for instance, I love singing, but I love singing by myself away from other humans because I don't want to like hurt their ears. Stuff like that. If I know that I'm, good at something or I know what I'm talking about, especially when it comes to, anime or video games or anything like that, I don't have any fear because I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, it's good for the memes, I guess, make a good, funny video. That's the worst that can happen, really. And that same cat I was telling you about, who was trying to open the door, he did it.
He got in?
He got in. Yeah, this is Blue.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, he's beautiful. See, he is a Bengal. Look at the spots. He's gorgeous.
He's looking at me like, why are you trolling me right now? I know. I'm sorry.
Cats are crazy.
The beginning, you said that you're no longer a villain. And I wanted to make sure we got back to that and find out, A, because it's a good quit, but B, don't leave us dangling. What's going on?
So I've been wrestling since 2008. From then until now, I've never been a good guy, ever. And that changed on Friday, this past Friday, basically joining and protecting and kind of standing up for Rey Mysterio. Basically, there's a storyline right now between Rey Mysterio and his son, Dominic. There's some tension there, some really high tension there. And Rey didn't really have anybody to have his back. And me and my group decided to do that. And now in standing up for Rey, it's not just standing up for him, but it's standing up for his legacy. I mean, he's going to become a Hall of Famer this year in the Hall of Fame ceremony. So it's like standing up for him, standing up for like that culture, that tradition, that heritage. And I feel like his son, although he has his crew with him, his judgment is pretty clouded right now. It's funny to see the other side of the coin. Now I'm this good guy, I guess, and just embracing that, it changes the roles completely. It changes how I wrestle. It changes how I interact with the fans. It changes my outfits, my looks. Everything is different. So when I was a bad guy, I would take a lot of inspiration from Madara Uchiha or Itachi or any of those like hardcore bad guys that I really, really love. And now I'm looking at people like Rock Lee, who's like never give up, or Naruto in that way. It's just adjusting how you think and applying it to what you are in that world.
Do you think it's going to change you in real life?
I don't think so. I think it's a cool challenge for me. I don't think it'll change who Thea is, but I think it'll be interesting to see how it changes Zelina, because she had all of the right reasons of why she was bad for so long. But now in realizing that this situation, this scenario that she's in is bigger than her, it's going to be cool to see how she adapts, and especially being the underdog. I am literally David versus Goliath to basically everybody else, because all of the girls are at least 5'3" and taller. It's definitely changing in how I move.
How much say do you have in the storyline? Like, and how much planning did you have to do to switch? Like, was this spur of the moment, or was it not intended and then it was viewed as you sort of becoming a good guy?
Definitely it wasn't planned by me. I don't even think it was necessarily planned by anyone else. It kind of just gradually happened. And that's also a cool thing when it happens that way, because then fans don't go, oh, I guess we have to cheer for her now. It's kind of like, oh, I agree with what she just did. Do I like her now? Oh, I like that match she just had. Wow, like I didn't know she can do all those moves. Wow, she moves like Rey Mysterio. Is she training like him? Like all of these questions and things that I'm saying now, I've heard fans say to me. I've seen them write to me. Because I like to go in the comment section sometimes of like on WWE's Instagram and see like if it's a video of me or what I'm doing, how they react and see like, oh my God, do I like her now? Wait. I didn't know she can do a moonsault. I didn't know that she can do the 619. Wait, Rey Mysterio does this. So it's cool to see like where their brain kind of goes. And I feel like I just jump on that train and I just follow it because it's almost like them telling the story to themselves without even realizing it.
That's very cool. And it's really exciting to hear about your whole journey and your quits. You've had a few. It looks like you're going to quit not wanting babies, but we'll keep our eye out.
Yeah, for sure. Even just having this conversation, it opens up my mind in a way to go, wow, like from the beginning to where we first started in this conversation to where it is now, it's mind blowing to say all these things out loud.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad. That's really exciting to hear because you seem like somebody who's very self-assured and you know exactly where you are at all times. So to have any kind of self-discovery in this conversation is awesome. Are you about to hit the road again?
Yes. We have SmackDown in Vegas this Friday, and then we have WrestleMania coming up the next week in LA.
Wow.
Thank you, Thea. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Thea.
That's so much fun.
Thank you, Thea.